Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I guess you're all staying safe in this COVID pandemic. Um, I hope this will reside pretty soon and we all get back to normal. But looks like it's going to take some time. I just want to give you some, insight into what can happen during this uh, after this pandemic, or after this whole thing goes away. But still, probably we'll be left with some. I Can you be on mute, please? Yeah. So probably we'll all be left with some stripes on our economy, right? Probably we'll be facing some drastic measures from the government, from the organizations. So how do we cope up? And what would be the EA's role in this post-COVID era? So those are the things that I want to go through with you during this session. So again, just to brief, I think Jesse has mentioned 25 plus years, but actually it's 30 plus years. So I've been doing this out of these 30 years, probably uh, around more than 15 years is on EA, right? So I've been doing enterprise architecture, more than 15 years. And then I've been consulting and training organizations. I had dealt with various industries like finance, automotive, health, and retail industries. And if you look at my success stories, I had provided business agility to many organizations, and then provided digital transformations by giving them guidance on how to establish their digital platforms, be it SmartKit, using the SmartKit, social media, mobility, analytics, and cloud computing, cloud computing, and IoT. And also during the 2000s, I would say we embarked more on the infrastructure rationalization and modernization. So by architecting the infrastructure properly, we were able to bring down the cost of the on the infrastructure maintenance by about 40 to 60%. And then we had done some application portfolio management at various organizations, which brought about 50% optimization. And we also established some architecture security at many organizations at an enterprise level. Now, today, I want to broadly put our session into 6 categories on how EA can help in the post-COVID era. So there will be some business model changes. So that is what I anticipate because of the economy changes and all. There will be some business model changes. So we'll be discussing on that. And to cope up with this economic downturn, probably our nations have to optimize their technology. So we'll be looking into that. Probably the technology infrastructure optimization, which I did in 2000s, was different than the technology infrastructure that optimization that can happen during this time. Okay. And we need to do some application portfolio management. So as usual, because we cannot maintain the same application landscape, so we may have to do some application portfolio management as well. And so for the last decade, probably we had seen some digital transformations going on. So probably I anticipate those digital transformations has to carry on. But let's see how we have to change digitally in this 21st century. And then, so security remains a big concern again. So how do we deal with the security, and what would be the role of an EA in these security initiatives? And to survive and thrive, probably innovation is inevitable. So we need to be innovative, and also we have to be agile, right? So uh, to um, to survive and thrive, right? So I will touch upon that as well. So let's go through this one by one. So let's start with the business model changes. Now, as we see that, so there's a lot of economic downturn, and the small to medium organizations which don't have deep pockets, right? So I don't know how many will survive. Probably I anticipate some of the organizations might get merged or acquired by the larger players. So that is my anticipation. So I anticipate that that will happen in the post-COVID era. And we will see more digital businesses. So as we have seen, like in the past decade, we have been seeing digital transformation, and that will continue and grow more and more because of the cost optimization that can bring, and also the reach that the digital technologies that can give to the businesses. And then we will see more global organizations, global businesses coming, and also we will see some multi-industries, right? So not only the businesses operating in multiple countries, but also in multiple industries. So one business which is successful in one industry will get into the other industries as well. We will see that happening because of the technologies that are available right now. It is easy to get into multiple industries. And then we will see some business optimization to cope up with the economic downturn. And I anticipate that there will be a major shift in the workforce, either consolidation of the workforce, or changing the model itself, the work model itself, working business model itself, right? So we may see, as we had seen during this past 4 or 5 months, we've been seeing most of the work being done remotely. So I believe that the trend will continue because it is economically viable for more organizations, more profitable. And also, so we have seen that it's not necessary for everyone to get into the office to do the work, right? So we will see some remote work models in the near future, in the post-COVID era, right? So let's discuss about this one by one, a little bit more detail, right? So let's talk about the mergers and acquisitions. What is the role of an EA in these mergers and acquisitions? Now, EA probably has to look at the opportunities, what can come from these economic downturns, which businesses are there for a grab, right? So which can be merged or acquired. So they have to look for those opportunities, especially those in the larger organizations who have deep pockets, right? And then before you do any mergers or acquisitions, the role of an EA is to understand the business landscape, right? So what is your business landscape, and what is the landscape of the organization that you are going to acquire or merge, right? And also the technology landscapes, right? So what technology landscape you have, and what is the technology landscape that the organization that you are going to acquire has, right? Because you have to look for a good match, right? So if your landscape is completely different from the organization that you are going to acquire, probably that may be not a profitable merger or an acquisition, right? It may take some time to consolidate your businesses, your technology, right? So it may incur more expenditure loss for the organizations than giving a benefit. So EA has to do that due diligence on studying the current state of the businesses and the IT within the organizations, and understanding the synergies, right? So you have to see, what synergies you have with the other organizations, and then and also the differences. So to make you know a good decision on whether it's a viable merger or an acquisition or not, right? And identify the risks. So we have to. So that is the biggest responsibility of an EA, is to assess the risk in these mergers or acquisitions, and make sure that you're not embarking on something that you cannot handle, right? So that is one of the biggest thing that responsibility, I would say, from an EA perspective. And then plan the integration of these the organizations which you are going to merge or acquire, and then execute that integration, and probably by governing that integration, to making sure that we are doing the right things during after these mergers and acquisitions. Okay. And as I said, I will be touching upon this digitization a little bit later as well. But just to give you a high level, what can happen in the post-COVID era, probably so more and more digitization might happen. So the digitization that has to happen should be all customer centric. So you have to understand the customers very well, what their requirements are, and how the digitization can help these customers, what their needs are, and how they are going to get benefited by this digitization. So that is the fundamental to this digital transformation, and architect this digital transformation from a business perspective rather than a technology perspective. So we've been seeing this digital transformation in the past decade, but I would say whatever that this digital transformation that has happened in the past decade is more from a technology perspective rather than from a business perspective, right? But that uh, the paradigm has to change, right? So we should not just look at this digitization from a technology perspective. We have to look at from a business perspective, right? So otherwise, this digital transformation initiatives may not be that successful as we anticipate. And architect a digital platform on which all these digital services can be built and deployed, right? So there should be a digital platform on which you can develop these digital uh, products or services, and how and then make it available to the whole world, right? So that having a strong foundation of this digital platform is key to the success of these digital transformations. And then so we have multiple platforms, right? So like cloud, right? So a lot of social media networks, right? So there are many platforms that we have to integrate in order to gather the information, and then analyze that information, and take better decisions on how to improve your business. Now, integration of these multiple platforms, not multiples platform. So multiple platforms would be key to success for this digital transformation. Okay. And now, what is the role of an EA in the global and multi-industry enterprises? So, as I said, the organizations that are going to be established, or that are going to survive and thrive in this post-COVID era, would be global businesses. So, even though we had seen that the COVID can hamper your global presence because of the mobility and all. But still, I think soon after this whole thing resides, I think our nations will be global, will operate at a global scale. And also, as I said, the organizations which are successful in one industry will embark on their journey into the other industries as well. So that trend might continue, and we will see that happening in the post-COVID era, right? So now what we need to do as an EA in this global market and a multi industry footprint, right? So we need to establish global processes, right? So that would be critical for any business to survive in this global market. So the EA's role is to understand how the organizations operate at a global scale, and what would be the processes that can cut across multiple countries, right? So earlier we had seen that we have to customize the processes to fit the local industries, local countries, right? But I think in the post-COVID era, in the near future, probably our nations will try to standardize the business processes across the globe. So that would be critical. How to establish those global processes. So that is what an enterprise architect should embark on. And leveraging from multiple industries would be beneficial. So if you are successful in one industry, it becomes easy in this digital and global economies. It will be very easy for our nations to get into other industries as well, right? So we had seen many companies like Amazon, right? So many global companies surviving and thriving in this global market. So that trend will continue, and we will see a lot more companies embarking on the other industries once they are established in one industry. And the knowledge of global market and multiple industries would be crucial for an enterprise architect, right? So to make these organizations successful. Again, I think so we can. So the ES role is to have that. So first of all, they need to have that knowledge on how the organization can work on at a global scale, and also how it's not enough if you have knowledge or expertise in one industry. So in future, EAs would be seen as an expert in multiple domains, or at least even if they are not expert at that time, they should be quickly able to understand how other industries work, and then should see how you can leverage and how you can take advantage of the other industries, right, to expand your business, right? So that is crucial for any organizations to survive, right? And in this global environment, so earlier we used to have some custom help desk or customer centers, customer service centers. But in near future, in this global economy and the global market, I think we need to have a single help desk which can cater the services across the globe. So that is going to happen. One reason being, managing multiple customer service centers in different countries or different regions is becoming too expensive. So organizations are trying to consolidate their customer service centers. So that's going to happen in the near future, and we will see that consolidation of the help desk or the customer service centers happening in the post-COVID era. And then, so all the consolidated infrastructure and tools also is crucial for all for the global organizations, because it is becoming expensive to manage the infrastructure in multiple countries, and having different tools in multiple countries and regions is becoming very expensive. So there will be a lot of consolidation that's going to happen in this post-COVID era. And one thing I have to mention in this global economy, the regulatory compliance is will become a crucial. I forgot to mention here, but so that becomes very crucial for the organizations to survive and thrive, because there are a lot of regulations from different countries, different regions, for industries as well. So complying with those regulatory compliance criteria will be very important for any organization to operate at a global scale. Okay. And then, so there will be a lot of optimization that will happen in the post-COVID era, right? So the optimization can happen from a business perspective and from a technology perspective as well, right? So we need to standardize some processes from a business perspective, and then even from a technology perspective, we need to do a lot of optimization. You may have to consolidate the data centers and then establish a single network, because we used to have multiple networks so far, but that's not going to continue anymore because of the optimization that we need to do, right? So we need to have a single network. And then the data is sporadic in many organizations. So they have data in multiple places, multiple databases, so on and so forth. So there will be a lot of consolidation, and we will have many master data implementations in the near future, right? So again, I will talk about this technology optimization in the next item, right? And then, as I said, there will be a big shift in the workforce, right? So already we had seen many organizations trying to consolidate their workforce, try to shift their workforce, so on and so. So a lot of consolidation is happening. So the ES role is to make sure that the organization has the right people for the right job, because that is crucial for the organizations to survive and thrive in this post-COVID era. And then identify and execute different work models. So we have to look at, so we already had seen that, remote workforce is beneficial for the organization for the survival, and so we have seen that that model can work, right? So I'm guessing that the organizations will continue that model, at least for some workforce, especially the technology workforce. I think will continue to work remotely rather than going to the regular offices anymore. So we'll see that trend continuing in the post-COVID era. Okay? And improving the communication within the workforce. So again, so if you have to work efficiently in this remote work model, probably there should be good communication between the workforce, right? So again, we have to develop several tools and techniques in order for the employees to communicate in a very efficient manner, right? So I think we will see a lot more technologies and tools coming to accommodate the communication within the workforce. And eliminating the complexity within the workforce also is very important, because so if the workforce is in multiple places, they are working from home or different places and all, so the complexity increases. So we have to make sure that that complexity is reduced. So that's one of the responsibilities of the enterprise architect. Okay. Now, let's talk about the second one, which is the technology infrastructure optimization, right? So we will see that the organizations optimizing their technology predominantly in the post-COVID era, right? So first of all, why we need to do this? Because we have to maximize the revenue, right? So in this economic downturn, so maximizing the revenue is crucial for any organization, and scalability is also crucial, because as your organization is growing, you have to scale. The technology should support that increase in the number of employees and etc. Right? and increase in the productivity. So to increase the productivity, we have to optimize this the technology that we are using, or we may have to use better technologies, right? So not only optimize the technology, but we have to use better technology. And as I said, we will be moving towards a single network predominantly after this one, and reduce downtime in this post-COVID era, because it's crucial for any organization to be up and running all the time, 24 by 7, 365, right? So 5 nines of availability is crucial for any organization to survive. And then having multiple platforms is probably not going to work in the post-COVID era. So to optimize your revenue, and also we need to move towards a single platform. So that is crucial for any organization, right? So let's see how we do this optimization, technology optimization. So we have to map your infrastructure to the business goals and objectives. That is the first and fundamental responsibility of an EA, is to map your infrastructure to the business, because unless you map that, you cannot see which infrastructure is used by which business, right, and which for which purpose, right? So if any technology infrastructure is not supporting any business goal or an objective, probably you have to see whether it's still needed or not. Maybe that's the time that you have to optimize, right? And consume cloud computing. Probably the cloud adaptation will increase, because of the cost, and the maintenance, and but some organizations can take a hybrid route. So we may see some organizations having a private as well as public clouds as well, right? And redesign your data warehouses, and data centers and all, right? And even try to reduce your data center storage costs, because having multiple data centers is not going to work in the post-COVID era. So many organizations have already taken some measures and consolidating these data centers. So that trend we might see in the post-COVID era, right? And technology modernization will still, I think, continue, because when you modernize your technology, you're not only getting the benefit from a cost perspective, but also you can take advantage of the new technology to bring some efficiencies, right? So these are some of the new technologies probably you might be familiar with. So we are having these containers for the easy deployment in multiple platforms. Microservice architecture is going to continue. Autonomous databases, meaning, right, so we have to automate most of the database maintenance activities, right? So because of the cost optimization and all, so self-healing, the remediation for the databases, right? So the autonomous databases is going to prevail in the post-COVID era. And cloud native. So how do we take advantage of deploying onto different clouds, and how we can use your so it's all about how you can develop your applications or services and deploy it in this cloud native environment. And then infrastructure as a code, right? So how do you bring up your infrastructure within minutes, or so that's going to again prevail in the post-COVID era. And the serverless functions. So you need not have servers to run up and run your services. So serverless functions is going to prevail. Okay. And okay, so before I get into this application portfolio management, so I want to make this as interactive as possible. Try to ask questions. You can post your questions in the chat. Jessica will um, Jessica will ask me those questions, and I can answer if you have any questions. Okay. Um, so let me get into the um, this uh, application portfolio management. Okay. So probably um, there should be, we will be doing some application portfolio management to reduce the cost and all those things, right? So let's see how we do this application portfolio management, right? Um, so basically, how we do this. So with this application portfolio management, probably we will enable the cloud native strategies to make sure that the cloud we are able to deploy your applications into different clouds and mitigate security and compliance vulnerabilities. So we to mitigate the security risks, and then to be compliant with the security compliance criteria and all, we may have to do some application portfolio management and optimize the cloud and hybrid costs and resources. So we may have to look at how do we optimize the usage of the cloud as well, and maybe take advantage of the hybrid cloud if you have any security concerns and all. Maybe you can use a private cloud for some applications and a public cloud for the applications that you can deploy in the public domain, right? And how you can optimize those resources as well. And upgrading the processes with the lean principles and the technology business management framework, TBM, right? So TBM is a new framework that came out probably 2016 or somewhere, right? So how do we map your technology to the business, right? How do you bring agility in across the whole enterprise in mapping your technology to the business, and how your technology is used or your technology is run as a business within the organization, right? So that helps you to bring agility within the organization as well, and secure the adaptation of strategic platforms with the holistic insights using the powerful reporting. So nowadays we have several reporting platforms on how you are using um, your technology infrastructure. So mapping your business goals down to the technology infrastructure, right? So that is crucial, because that is how you can see the return on investment, whatever you are making on your technology and the application landscape, right? So having that traceability is very important. And reducing the IT complexity and improve efficiency, right? And so we have to look at your whole IT landscape, what is adding value and what is not adding value, and retire the ones that the applications that are not adding value, and plan for the applications that are for the future that add value to the organizations, right? So you have to as an enterprise architect, you have to reduce that complexity, and promote collaboration between the business and IT to react faster to the business needs. So this alignment of the business and the technology of the IT is very crucial, right? So many organizations are facing that problem for the misalignment with the business and the IT. So bringing that alignment is crucial for any organization to survive and thrive, right? And rationalize the application cost and lower the total cost of ownership. So that is crucial for any organization, right? So to bring down the cost. So improve the IT visibility and control across the scaling of the hybrid cloud environments, and prioritize the IT projects based on their business value, and strengthen the business processes by uncovering the technology gaps and data redundancies. So you have to optimize your business processes and map data flows and application dependencies. So that is also very crucial for any organization. Now, how do we do this application portfolio management? So look at your full inventory of your applications. Look at your landscape, IT landscape, right, or application landscape. So understand your landscape. Decide the value of each application, right? So see what is adding value and what is not adding value, and then keep the great ones. So keep the one that are adding value, and retire the ones that are not adding any value, right? And update the alter the applications that are useful but does not don't fit in within anymore within the organization anymore, right? Eliminate or retire the applications that are no longer fit for purpose. So that is crucial. And use the refreshed overview to decide what you need before purchasing any more apps. So before embarking on any new application development, look at your business goals, the vision, right? So based on that, the business goals and objectives, you need to identify what applications will add value in the future. So plan for those applications that add value to the organizations. Okay, and mitigate the technology risk. So what technology you can use, and what is the benefit that the organization is going to get out of that implementation. Okay. And so what are the benefits for the application portfolio management? The application portfolio management is an effective way to identify the capital for a return on investment. So, if you don't know do the application portfolio management, probably we are doing some redundant development, or maybe there is no return on investment on that application at all. If there is no business value coming out of that implementation. And application rationalization can lead to cost saving of more than 2 million in a single attempt. So that is, I think, for probably medium, small to medium itself. For larger organizations, I would anticipate, more than that 2 million cost savings, right? I would anticipate even much higher savings. And then license optimization results in 30% savings on the licensing cost. So if you rationalize your applications, and if you do your application portfolio management in a more structured manner, you can get at least 30 to 50%, I would say, on the savings. And then over 20% of the applications are unused and can be retired. I would say for any organization that lived for more than 25, 30 years, it would be even more than that, right? So maybe even 20 to 50% can be retired. So there are a lot of opportunities here in this post-COVID era. That is what many organizations need, right? So they don't want unnecessary applications up and running, consuming the cost, right? So application portfolio management would be crucial for all organizations to bring their cost and bring cost efficiency. Okay. So infrastructure costs can be reduced by 45%. I would say that also might be a little higher than 45% as well. And at least 10% of the IT costs can be avoided through the application rationalization so that came from Oracle. And vendor consolidation can reduce the total cost of ownership, TCO, by 22 to 28%. So I would say that might be even much more than that. So for a large, complex organization. And currently, 75 to 80% of the IT budgets are spent on operating and managing applications. True. So because one reason is being, I think we are doing multiple, redundant applications are being developed, right? So most of the cost is going for that redundant applications itself. So if you do a good enterprise architecture within the organization, if you see, if you plan properly, and if you are not redeveloping any applications. So that cost can be brought down drastically, right? And if you bring down that cost drastically, then what happens is you can spend more on the innovation, right? So instead of spending only on just managing the current landscape, if you bring down that cost, so that whatever you had saved can be used for innovation, and that can bring better value to the organizations. Okay. Now, how do you start your journey in this application portfolio management? So compile a list of applications, right? Identify who owns the applications and identify the life cycle of the application, and assess the usage of applications. So look at what you're doing and what is important for the organizations, and remove the ones that are not adding value. So establish the application business value, its quality and its cost, and create an application architecture framework. So what applications are being used for what purposes. And if you see that a particular application is not being used by anyone, probably you have to see what are the opportunities of for retiring that application, and map the total concept onto the landscape, and make application rationalization a continuous process. So it's not a one-time activity, as you've seen. So you have to make it as a continuous process. So you have to see what are the opportunities to retire, and what new applications we need for the ownership. Okay. So that's that's application portfolio management. Okay. Any questions, Jessica?
No, sir, not yet. Anyone can please feel free to post their questions on the chat box. I will read it out and sir will have it addressed.
Okay. All right. So the digital transformation, right? So this is crucial for any organization, right? So already we had started this journey on the digital transformation for the past decade. Actually, digital transformation has started since the inception of IT, right? So it's more than 50, 60 years. But the rigorous digital transformation, using the cutting edge technologies and all, started for more than a decade. So how do you do this digital transformation? Right? So this is, I had taken this from the book called Design for Digital, written by Gene Ross. So Gene Ross has mentioned these 5 building blocks that any organization need, right, to embark on their digital transformation journey, right? Um, Let me go through them one by one. So first of all, we need to have a good understanding on the customer, right? The customer needs, their insights, right? So you need to develop several mechanisms on how you can get this information from the customer, right? So you can use several mechanisms to get this the customer insight. Okay. And then build a digital platform that on which you can develop, you deploy your digital services, right? So that is crucial for any organization to build that foundational digital platform. And then accountability framework. So we need to make sure that everyone owns some assets, some applications, some digital services. Who owns what, right? Who is responsible for that, right? There should be some accountability framework established so that people can own and be responsible for the services that are being developed. And then once you have the digital services developed, you need to expose them to the outside world so that they can use your digital services and build on top of that. So like, Apple, which exposed their iOS platform to the whole world, And now see how many applications are being developed on that platform, right? So those organizations which expose their platform to the outside world, and which let the outside world use their platform and build services on top of it, had thrived much better than the organizations which didn't expose their services. And last but not the least, so you need to have an operational backbone, right? So how you are operating your business, right? Fundamentally, so that is crucial for any organization. So you need to bring some efficiencies in how you are operating, right? So otherwise, digital transformation has no meaning to it. Okay, so these are the five building blocks that Gene Ross has suggested. I would agree to this one. So I think, and again, so how you build these building blocks, these five building blocks, it is up to the organization, right? So you can start with anyone, right? So you can build these building blocks in any way you want, right? So there is no particular order that you can go through to build these building blocks. So it is up to the organization to take a decision on how to build these building blocks, right? And so lately, we had seen some organizations, some industries developing their own the building blocks, digital architectures. So, for example, telemanagement forum. So, for the telecom industry, they came up with this open digital architecture, right? So this is a very high level architecture, right? So what building blocks you need to build the digital platform for the telecom industry. So, so every organization, I think, so most of the industries, there are many architectures that are coming in to give some guidance on how to embark on this digital journey. So you can adopt anyone, or you can customize these architectures and come up with your own custom architecture on how to embark on your digital journey, right? So these are the some of the digital architectures available in the industry. Now, let me touch upon this security real quick. So, there, I think the enterprise architect has a big role in the security, right? Because security is becoming crucial for any organization to survive and thrive, right? Especially in this COVID era, we had realized that how important security is, right? So let's see, what we can embark on this. So some extended detection and response capabilities needs to be developed for the organization. So we had realized that how applications are vulnerable, right? So we need to have an how so we can take the information from various security tools or appliances, and how we can analyze them and make sure that the systems are secure. And then we need to automate several security processes, right, to avoid that repetitive task. And more many security tools are doing that automation already, so we can take advantage of those security tools that are available in the industry. And AI continues to pose some security threats, right? Because in an AI, for an AI system, if you input something bad, right? Some so it brings some disaster for that the organization or whoever is using that AI system, right? So making AI systems secure is very crucial in this post-COVID era. So we have to come up with some measures on how do you make sure that you're securing your AI systems, right? So the role of a chief security officer is becoming very important because right now the security we have is very sporadic, and no one is looking across the whole organization, and not no one is establishing security policies at an enterprise level. So the role of a chief security officer will be predominant in the post-COVID era to establish those security policies. And okay? And privacy, it used to be a part of your regulatory or legal policies and all, but privacy is gaining prominence. So it is becoming a discipline on its own, and so looking at the privacy separately from all other regulatory legal compliance issues is crucial. So that is one thing that EA has to look into. Okay, and so new digital trust and safety teams have to focus on the integrity of all interactions with it. So now we have multiple touch points with the customer, right? So we have a mobile, or a lot of appliances, right? Devices that through which the customers is interacting with your organization. So how do you secure all those touch points, all those interactions, right? So that is becoming crucial for any organizations to make their organizations secure, right? And network security, transforms from the focus on the land base. So again, the security access secure edge, right? So you have to establish a SaaS, so security access service edge, so that you are moving away from land-based security towards the cloud-based security, right? And a full life cycle approach for the production and dynamic requirements of the cloud native applications. So in the cloud, for the security, so there are several concepts coming, like cloud workload production, CWPP, right? And also cloud security posture management, CSPM. So these are new concepts that are coming in on how the cloud can be secure, right? So we have to define those new approaches on how to make this cloud secure, because that is becoming crucial for any organization, right? And nowadays, after this, COVID and all, so security has become very important. And so we are adopting a zero trust network access technology, meaning so you can't trust anyone. So you have to give privilege for anyone to operate anything, right? So you can't give any access by default to anyone, because that has posed several security threats in the recent past, right? So that is one thing you have to keep in mind, that you have to provide that security, zero trust security for your systems. Okay. And last but not the least, again, I'm not touching deep into this innovation and agility, even though, right, it's very important. We can talk for hours, even days, right? Those who had taken my training, and those who had seen me talking about innovation and agility, very in depth. But I just want to mention that, so in this post-COVID era, for any organizations to survive and thrive, it is very important to be innovative and also being agile, right? So it is very important, right? So now, what is the role of an EA in innovation and agility, right? So you need to embark on any innovation that adds value to the enterprise. Don't embark anything that doesn't add any value to the organization. So some organizations does not know how to roll out the innovation within the organizations, right? So they're just they're doing some research and just embarking on any innovation that comes to their mind, right? So that is not very good, right? So we have to see whether that innovation is adding any value, whether it's in line with your vision, with your mission or not, right? So if it is if it is not in line with your vision, then you have to think through. You have to sit back and think whether this innovation is right for the organization or not. Right? Should we embark on this innovation? Or sometimes some organizations, what they have done is, if the innovation is not in line with their vision, they subcontracted, or they had done the business through some organizations who has some expertise in that innovation, right? So they had patented their whatever that innovation is, and had given that subcontracted that innovation, like, so for the manufacturing or whatever that the innovation is, right? So who had some expertise on that and done the business through them, right? So just don't take innovation whatever comes to your mind and just try to do it, right? So it may not be always beneficial to the organization. So we have to embark on the innovation that is crucial for the organization itself. And then innovation in the so in this post-COVID era, right? So remote workforce will be more predominant, right? And and how do you bring this innovation in this remote workforce, right? So earlier, so everyone is in one place. They used to brainstorm. They used to um, get some innovative ideas, right? And work on it. But now in this remote workforce, how does that happen? How do you brainstorm, right? So you have to use various technologies, tools and technologies to brainstorm and to get the innovative ideas, right? You need to have probably a more structured process for doing the innovation. Otherwise, innovation can take a backseat, or maybe the innovation that can happen may not be beneficial to the organization, may not give some competitive advantage to the organization. So you have to be careful in how you bring innovation within the organization. And so again, agility, I can talk for hours and days on this agility, but so organizations have to be agile, right? But what I have seen, the agility that is there in the industry so far is bits and pieces, right? So you are trying to be agile in the development or the operations, or some in some areas it's not a holistic approach to bring the agility, right? So the role of an EA is to bring that holistic agility within the organization, meaning the agility that you are bringing should be end to end, not just in one area or the other, right? So that is very important for any organization when they are trying to be agile. So you have to be agile, but you have to see from end to end, and how do you make that whole process agile rather than making bits and pieces agile. Okay. So with that, probably I will stop here. And any questions, Jessica?
No, sir, not yet. I would request everyone for any question, any doubt, if you have to please post it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and even ask the questions. Any questions?
Yes. Hi, Suresh. My name is Abhinav. I'm calling from Mumbai.
Okay. Hi.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for this lovely presentation. I think it was very, very useful, especially in times like these. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
My current role is the role of CIO that I play in an automobile company.
Okay.
And all the aspects that you just mentioned, we kind of touch upon it almost every day in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not as structured as you do, but in shape or form, we kind of try to do it.
Right.
But overarching theme of everything that we do in these days is reduction of cost and profit efficiencies, doing less more, more with less. I'm sorry. Right. Now, these two parameters, which are the overall overarching driving principles of everything that we do, how does enterprise architecture kind of help in getting and driving these initiatives?
Right. So one fundamental difference or what do you say, the competitive advantage that EA can bring is, so these, as I mentioned during the presentation, the optimization initiatives that are happening within the organization are again bits and pieces, right? So you are taking some small thing, some one process or something, that is not working well, or trying to optimize in such a way that you are just optimizing that portion alone, right?
Mm.
So the what EA can bring to the table is the holistic approach, or the first of all understanding the whole organization, right? And then looking at what efficiency you can bring, right? With the what you can do to make sure that you are bringing the efficiencies across the enterprise, right? And from end to end, not just in bits and pieces, right? If you have a holistic view of the enterprise, right, and then see what efficiencies you can bring, that brings better efficiencies than doing in bits and pieces, right? If you do bits and pieces, probably I would say 0 to 30% max is what you can get, right?
Right.
If you take a holistic approach, probably you will get more than 50-60% efficiency, right?
Yeah.
and,
Got
and and that will be long term as well, right? So because you have taken a holistic approach, the what you do is will give you benefit in a long run than in a short run, right? So the bits and pieces that you are doing may show some short term benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's not what organizations need, right? So they need a holistic approach and a long term benefit rather than some short term benefit.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Suresh. The only challenge, if we continue, if we kind of look at the in current situation, if we look at the holistic approach, it costs a lot of money. So we
Not,
are
not,
by design, or by
not
challenge, we are bits and pieces. We are moving ahead in bits and pieces.
that is the biggest myth that we have in the industry. So whenever we think of holistic approach, it takes long time. No, it doesn't have to be that way, right? So if you have a right approach for this, for the problems that you are embarking, right? So that may not need that may not be expensive at all, right? So right approach is the key, not the not it's not the cost that is going to incur. You're not going to incur cost, but if you have a right approach, even with minimal expenditure, you should be able to get multiple folds of efficiencies. So
Got it.
that is a myth, actually, I would say, right? In the industry, whenever we say holistic approach, oh, it takes long time. It takes it costs us a lot of a lot. It doesn't. It doesn't. Right? The approach is crucial here, rather than your resources. It doesn't matter how much you are spending. Even if you have spent billions of dollars, and still you may not get efficiency if you take the wrong approach, right? If you take the
Yeah.
right approach with small amount of expenditure, you might get multiple folds of efficiencies.
Got it. Yeah. Makes sense. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, we have a question from Sunil Oza.
Mhm.
Actually, we have two questions from him. The first is, how does a common or a single data center help with latency?
um, Okay, I think that is something we have to look at. But with all the new technologies that are in right now, we have some boosters that you can put in place that can take it. It not be the whole data center. You have for to counter that efficiency latency. You don't have to have the whole data center in multiple regions, but there are some network boosters that you can use to decrease that latency rather than having the whole data center in multiple countries or multiple regions. So yes, we are able to reduce the number of data centers with the new technologies that are there in the industry. Okay. And what was the second question?
Yes, we have another question from Sunil Oza. He asks, how can EA, just one moment, my screen is just fluctuating a little. Okay. How can EA contribute to optimize and make common applications across different business units of an organization with different business goals and capabilities?
Yeah, that is something you have to take a holistic approach, right? So if the business units have their own goals and objectives, first thing you have to look at is you question yourself, why does that business unit has a different goal, right? Is it a viable goal, right? So can they align with the corporate goal, right? So that is the first question that I would pose, and see whether there is a real need for that isolate goal, right? So probably, so if you take a holistic approach, then you can see how you can align even these business units and then bring on the same plane first of all, right? So if they really have a separate goal, then probably you need some different applications. But first and fundamental question you have to ask yourself is, why do they have a different goal, right? Why are they not aligning to the corporate goals and objectives, right? If you come from there, probably you should be able to do a better application portfolio management. Okay, I hope I answered Sunil's questions.
We have another question. This is from Mr. Amol. He asks, is EA responsible for selections of tools and technology? And also if EA is responsible for cost comparison and evolution with similar tools?
All right, so the EA's responsibility is to establish the standards and principles. So that is the main responsibility. And then they will work with the solution architects in selecting the tools and the products and all that, right? So they may not have a direct responsibility in selecting the tools, but they are working with the solution architects. And once a tool is being selected, they will make it, so they will make a decision whether to make it as a standard across the enterprise or not, right? Whether that product has to bring in as a trail, right? So those decisions will be made by the EA, right? So I would say it's a joint effort between the EA and SA in selecting the tools and products. Okay. Any more questions?
Any more questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself and ask us the questions, or you can even put it in the chat box.
All right, so we will also post this presentation on our YouTube channel, and we will share it in the LinkedIn forums and all. So you feel free to reach us if you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer your questions. Okay. All right. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and we had a good questions and a good discussion as well. Thank you for all your time. Right. So hope to see you in our next webinar pretty soon. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sudhir. Thanks.
Jessica, I think you can stop.
Okay, sure, sir.